Okay, let's talk BMW 3 Series engine problems. So overall, we've worked on hundreds, if not thousands, of BMW 3 Series, fairly popular here in our Utah area where we have our repair shops. For the most part, these engines are solid. We're not replacing them. We're commonly doing some repairs. So we've kind of identified three things in going through my repair orders, plus combined with just kind of what I'm used to talking to clients about. There's kind of three common things that I know of that you should take into consideration if you own a 3 Series or if you're going to buy a 3 Series or most BMWs. These things apply for most BMWs, to be honest. The number one thing that we're noticing with BMW engines is excessive carbon buildup. So over time, just unburned fuel, so fuel deposits and carbon buildup just builds up on the intake exhaust valves. That's normal, but once it becomes excessive, it causes misfires, it causes compression loss, performance issues, bad things happen. So if it gets really bad, we have to do what's called walnut blasting. So that's where we get in there with basically a sandblaster that's been modified to shoot out crushed up walnut shells. Got to take the intake manifold off the engine, get in there and painstakingly blast all that stuff off, clean up the mess, and it's a whole ordeal. But there's a couple things you can do to help avoid letting it get all the way to that point. Because if the walnut blasting doesn't work, whole cylinder head has to come off, go off to the machinist, and then we're talking, you know, a few $1,000s worth of stuff that we don't want to do, and you definitely don't want to pay us to do if you can avoid it. The number one thing you can do to avoid excessive carbon buildup is the fuel you use and the drives you take. So there is a difference between fuels. So putting the highest level of fuel you can buy from like say a Chevron or something like that in our area is known for having a little bit higher cleaner concentrate in their fuels versus going to like a 7-Eleven or you know one of the lower ones, or maybe a Walmart or Costco or something, and buying the cheapest gas you can get. So it is worth that little extra bit to put a higher level of gas in. And then the people that we're noticing that the carbon's getting bad on are the people that don't drive very far. So if you're just started up, take off out of your driveway and you're to work in 5 minutes, those tend to be the customers that are having issues. So make sure if you got short commutes, make sure you're taking that car out and kind of putting it through the paces, you know, get it revved up through the RPMs, drive it a decent amount of time, and honestly beat it up a little bit. It actually helps. Most people don't think of that. The second thing you can do to avoid it that we've found is we actually, in our vehicles and our customers' vehicles, about every 30,000 miles, we run some cleaners through the fuel and air intake induction system. So we take the air intake boot off, we kind of get a nozzle set down in there, put the boot back on, and then we charge this canister full of a very specific cleaner that's designed to break that carbon up. We park the vehicles out behind the shop and we run them for 30-45 minutes with that cleaner kind of fogging in there and atomizing, and it breaks that carbon up. We found that if we do that every 30,000 miles, we've never had excessive carbon buildup on any of our clients that do that. So I do that on my wife's 3 Series, and I recommend it to all my clients to do as well. It's a fairly inexpensive service in comparison to what it takes if that carbon gets to be an issue. This fuel and air induction cleaning service I talk about, it's a service, we buy the equipment and the chemicals from a company here local that sells Valvoline products. This is not on the BMW maintenance schedule. So we recommend this on BMWs every 30,000 miles, but this is one of a few areas where our recommendations are slightly different than what the manufacturer recommends. If you're local to our area and want to know more about this, you can call one of our service advisors here at the shop. Okay, so the second most common thing we're seeing with BMW 3 Series engines are coolant leaks. These cars have a lot of hoses, rubber hoses, and then they crimp to a plastic or some kind of plastic material. There's O-rings in there, there's little clips. There's a lot of stuff going on. You've got a lot of different materials. So you've got an aluminum cylinder head with more of a plastic composite material part bolting to it. They expand and contract at different times. These engines are designed to be assembled quickly on the assembly line, not necessarily, so there's a lot of quick connect hoses. This isn't a big deal if it's cotton time. So a coolant leak is not a major thing unless it goes unrecognized. And then if coolant levels get low, customer drives too long without noticing, it might not even be registering hot. Overheating a BMW engine is the #1 reason why people have them fail. So pay attention. If you see something or smell something or hear something strange, get it into a shop and see what's going on before we have a minor coolant leak turn into like a major engine problem. So my advice when it comes to coolant leaks on these engines is, as you're taking your vehicle in for its regular oil services, just have, if it's you doing it, that's great. Check your coolant levels. If they're low, you should probably hook a coolant pressure tester up to it, see where that coolant went. Cars don't eat coolant unless something's going on. So if you're noticing coolant getting low, there's probably something going on. If you are taking it into a shop, just make sure they're always putting their eyes on it for leaks, signs of dry coolant, any drips or anything in there. Just make sure we're being mindful anywhere past 50,000 miles or even before. My wife's got a newer M340, and I actually just had her water pump fail at 32,000 miles. It's a 2023. Not a big deal. She was starting to smell a little bit of coolant. Let me know. We brought it in the shop. Sure as can be. Had a bad water pump. It's kind of strange for me. It's still under warranty, so I actually had to take my wife's car over to the dealer to get that warrantied out. But the point there is, had she not been paying attention to smell that smell, she would have drove it to the point where it could have been a failure, could have caused extra strain. You definitely do not want to overheat a BMW engine. There's a lot of aluminum in there. It distorts. Your car will not last as long as it should if you overheat these things. So pay attention for coolant leaks. The #3 thing that we're seeing with BMW 3 Series engines are timing chain issues. Thankfully, these aren't highly common, but in comparison to other issues, we're definitely seeing some timing chain problems. Minor timing chain problems start showing up as check engine lights. We'll usually have some camshaft related codes, some timing related codes. Worst case, we have cars come in, not running properly or not running at all because the timing chains got to the point of jumping a few teeth or even failing. So as timing chains, the timing chain is very similar to, say, the chain you used to have on your bicycle. Over time, they stretch a little bit. Obviously, a timing chain is going to be a little bit better designed than what we have on our bikes. But just for a visual, as those links kind of stretch a little bit, that chain gets a little longer and longer. It ends up slapping around in there, then it breaks these little plastic guides that are kind of designed to keep that chain in line. Once it gets stretched to that point, bad things are going to start to happen. So there's not really much you can do. Timing belt engines, we just change that timing belt before it fails. Timing chain engines, I've had timing chains go 300,000-400,000 miles. I've had timing chains fail at 80. So there's not really an interval that I feel comfortable saying, hey customer, your car's at 150,000 miles. Let's spend a few $1,000s and change your timing chains. That's not how it works with timing chains. We just kind of pay attention, and if any symptoms come up, then we start looking at it. Hopefully that makes sense. There are a couple things you can do though. The customers that never have timing chain issues versus the customers that typically do have timing chain issues, we've found a couple of common things. The #1 cause of timing chain failure is people running too long on engine oil. So BMW is recommending a 10,000 mile oil change interval on most of their cars these days. That is not in your best interest to do, and I would strongly recommend you don't do that. They do use a good oil. It's a full synthetic. It's got lots of good additives in there. It is great oil, but going 10,000 miles, especially here in our climate, it's probably going to be about 100 degrees today. It's just a hot, nasty day most days in the summer. People that go that long, that oil starts to break down at about the 5,000 mile mark, and at about the 7,500 mile mark, it's really lost a lot of its capacity to do what it's supposed to do. So my cars and my customers' cars, I recommend changing the oil every 5,000 miles. I know that seems crazy, so I'm changing my oil twice as much as what the dealer recommends, but oil is a heck of a lot less money than timing chains, and it's a whole hell of a lot less money than an engine. So customers that drive a long time, if you're on the freeway a lot, let's push it to 7,500 miles. If you're like my wife and you're driving around town all day and then we take hers on a trip here and there, I'm doing hers every 5,000 miles, and I would strongly recommend most people do the same. Preventing a problem is always a lot better than waiting until there is a problem.